This audio is brought to you by Muslim Central. Please consider donating to help cover our running costs and future projects by visiting www.muslimcentral.com/donate.
غرباء 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 ولغير الله لا نحمل الجبال.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Yasmin Mogahed, and you're listening to Serenity, streaming live on One Legacy Radio. I pray that, alhamdulillah, I pray that you all are having a blessed Ramadan. Yesterday was the 27th night, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from all of us our fasts and our qiyams and our prayers and our du'as. We are asking today, again, for your help. And today's topic I also is extremely relevant, I think, in our communities. It's something that a lot of people do communicate to me personally. I've gotten many, numerous messages about the topic of relationships and what happens when a person's married life is not working out, or their marriage is falling apart. So inshallah, we will be talking about this important topic today. We will also be opening up the lines for you. I want to begin today's show by actually sharing with you sort of a really important cause that I want to ask you, inshallah, to support. We at One Legacy Radio we are a nonprofit, and we are completely supported by listeners like you. And right now we have a goal of we need membership, and the membership is really what's going to drive this project, and it cannot survive without this membership. Support for One Legacy Radio, support for InFocus News, which is the newspaper arm of this media project. Muslims need a voice in media, and if you have benefited from One Legacy Radio, from InFocus News, we really, really need to continue this effort. It's extremely important that we support it. The donations, the membership, what it will do is it actually ends up paying for sustaining the radio station, paying for research, so that reporters can research their topics, so that we can, they can pay the bills, the rent. All of these things are paid by the listenership and by the donations. Without this, the radio station cannot sustain itself. We ask you to click on, if you'll see above the player, the button that says "Become a Member." We ask you to become members and support this radio station. And also to call in. We want to hear from you, actually, before we jump into the very serious topic of today. We want to hear from you about, any experiences you've had with One Legacy Radio, either Serenity or any other show, or InFocus News. How has it affected your life? How have you personally benefited from this service? And we hope that, inshallah, it can continue. The number to call is 714-988-8182. And again, we ask you to call in. We want to hear from you. How has One Legacy Radio affected you? Let us know. Let us hear your voice. We need your support. We want to hear from you. We want to know what suggestions you have for future shows and other topics that you'd like to discuss. Again, we are a nonprofit. All donations are tax deductible, and so we ask you, if you can donate generously, become a member. We need the membership is extremely important for consistency, so that we can continue to provide this service. And keep in mind that right now, everything is free on One Legacy Radio. We provide free podcasts. In the past there was a cost for the podcast. It is absolutely free now. All the recordings recordings are available online, and you can even download them for free, listen for free. Everything is free for our listeners. But in order to keep it free, we need your support. We have a goal, and we really need to reach that goal, or we face the possibility of not being able to continue. This again is it is a project driven by you, by the listener, and we want to continue to have these things be free, and we are hoping to get at least 75 new members. Yesterday we did not reach our goal, and we hope to reach our goal today, inshallah, with your help. Again, you just click on Become a Member, and please do call in. We want to hear from you. The number is 714-988-8182. How has One Legacy Radio affected you? What have you benefited from One Legacy Radio? What suggestions do you have? Please do call in. We would like to hear from you. And just show your support for One Legacy Radio. Inshallah, we will go ahead and let me go ahead and actually write the number in the chat box as well. Some people may not have caught it. It's 714-988-8182. Okay. Now, I just want to, kind of just emphasize again, why is it so important to have an effort like this? Why is it so important to have Muslim media? As you know, the media is extremely important in terms of shaping the views of society towards Muslims, and also shaping the views of Muslims themselves about themselves. The concept of our self concept. Our how we view our own deen, how we view our own selves is shaped by what we are seeing and hearing in the media. And it's extremely important that we have a place as Muslims as well, that where we can, get that, that sense of self, and without it being without being constantly bombarded, with this feeling of self-hate because of the things that we see, on the news, or maybe some of the very slanted media that we have, and we need to have that voice. We need to have that voice for us as Muslims. We need to have that voice for the non-Muslim community as well. We are experiencing a time right now with really unprecedented Islamophobia. Islam is really being targeted in the United States and other places around the world. We have experienced, each time you read the news, you'll find, unfortunately, another act. Sometimes these are hate crimes. We know recently about the masjid that was burned down. These things are directly related to how Muslims and Islam are portrayed in the media. If we don't have a voice in the media, if we don't have a Muslim voice, if we don't have a platform for Muslims, then these things may continue to happen. We need to have that voice, and we need to continue to support these efforts. So someone writes, I listen to Serenity very regularly, even from Mauritania, 9 hours different from the U.S. It is the only Muslim media I am regular with. Thank you so much for being here. Very happy about the free podcast. That helps us enormously. Thank you for your support, Muslima21. And, this really is something that I had many people contact me about the podcasts when they were not free, and people really looking for these. This is something, if you're not able to listen live, you can always go back and access the podcast. This is a service that we have for you, but in order to continue to have this, we need to support this effort. We need to support the efforts of creating this Muslim media platform and continuing to have it free. Lemia says, I listen to Serenity because the content is relevant to aspects of my daily life. Alhamdulillah, it's changed the way I approach my prayer, fasting, dealing with my family and friends. Alhamdulillah, that's wonderful. And that's exactly why shows like Serenity are so important, is because it really is intended to be a space where we can discuss real issues, discuss real problems that we're facing, real issues on the ground and discuss them from a different lens, inshallah, than we might normally talk about them, or that we might normally look at them through. And that's the lens of taqwa, the lens of God consciousness, of tawheed. This is a revolutionary lens, that if we see everything in our life through that lens, it looks very, very different. And we have to realize that the way in which we see our life is directly related to the type of lens that we have. And shows like Serenity on One Legacy Radio are intended for just that. They are intended to provide that lens, to provide that service for people who don't have somewhere else to go necessarily. One of the repeated themes that I've seen in the messages that I receive is that I don't know where else to go. I don't have another person I can go to, and it's just this repeated theme of not having this place where you can go and you can share these problems. Sometimes it has to do with not wanting people. Obviously people sometimes don't feel comfortable. Sometimes there are not places where you don't even have that service, or you don't feel comfortable going, and so there's just this consistent problem of not having that space. And we hope that we can provide just a small piece of that space, but we need your support for that and to continue that. As someone asks, how can I share this on Facebook? I actually not able to contribute through money, but want to share with friends so that some of them may be able to donate. And thank you very much for mentioning that, because this is actually very, very true. If you are not able to support financially yourself, please at least do share it with others. If you are able to become a member, please become a member, and please do share it with your friends. We really want to continue to sustain One Legacy Radio, and without your support, it cannot continue. And the services that we have cannot continue. We can't keep having the free podcast. We won't be able to sustain it. Unfortunately, everything has to be sustained, and so we need your support to do that. So please do ask your friends to become members, to support this effort, and realize that this is the best time to be giving this type of charity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the month of Ramadan. This is the last 10 days, and we know that our deeds in this month are multiplied more than any other time. The Prophet ﷺ told us that one of the three things that continue to benefit us even after we pass away is a sadaqah jariyah. This is a charity, money that we give, or something that we give that continues to benefit people even after we've passed away. And so this is your opportunity to really take advantage of that, and inshallah, provide that space for yourself in your own grave, by making the intention that I'm going to support this effort for your sake, O Allah. And this is something that will not, this is the real investment. We go and we put our money in and we invest our money, but this really is the real investment, because not only will it continue to benefit people, inshallah, in the future, but it will continue to benefit you when you need it most, in your grave. So we ask you to please, donate and to share it with your friends. Someone says, it's my first time here, and subhanAllah, I never knew that an Islamic radio was being offered. Inshallah, I will pass on the message. Alhamdulillah, please do pass on the message. We need your support. And it's something that's, it's very much a pioneer in its field. We don't have where is this Muslim voice in media? It is very much unheard. And so this is something we need to keep alive, and we need to strengthen, and we need your support to do that. Someone says, I listen to Serenity regularly. And this is the thing that this month we've also provided these daily shows, and that's also something that we cannot do without your support. That we have this daily content and talking about issues and sharing and creating a platform for you also to interact with others. Subhanallah, we find that when you look at the chat box, you'll find people from all over the world, and it just becomes sort of like one family. The world becomes a lot smaller. subhanallah, and this is really a place where people can come and they can share with others, and also people give each other advice. I see, like, on the chat box, someone will be presenting a problem, and then someone else across the world will present a solution, and it's really it's an amazing sort of this bond that people just create through this effort. So we hope that inshallah we can sustain it. Okay, so someone says, thank you, Serenity helped me to change my perspective in a lot of things, especially difficulty and loss. I'm thrilled to see so many new listeners. Personally, I enjoy the frank discussion, the openness, the sharing, the real talk that addresses the issues we are dealing with in our daily lives. Alhamdulillah. And, this is exactly what we hope to do and what we hope to continue to do, inshallah. See. Okay, so inshallah what we will do now, before we go to break, is we'll, inshallah, please do continue to share the membership, continue to chime in on the chat box. We want to talk today about these real issues, and that's what Serenity does. That's what One Legacy does. That's what we're here to do, is to discuss these real issues. And one of those real issues is the problems that do arise in marriage. The Prophet ﷺ told us that marriage is half of our deen, and sometimes when we hear this hadith, I think we don't fully understand the deep meaning behind it. Sometimes I think we think that when you get married, as soon as you get married, you've completed half your deen, in the sense that now you're done, right? The hard work was in finding the husband or finding the wife, and now we're done. Now we're married, and kind of the hard work ends there. As if marriage is sort of a destination that you get to. You work since you're really little. You're dreaming about the wedding, or you're thinking about, who am I going to marry, and kind of daydreaming about it. And then you get a little older and you're searching for the person. It's kind of this struggle, right? And this path that you're taking, and then you get there, right? And it's like it's a destination that you get there, and this is absolutely not the way marriage really is. Marriage in and of itself is not an end. It's not a destination, but marriage is the path, and it's one of the paths to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we say that marriage is half of our deen, you complete half your deen, and you see that how marriage becomes, once you become married, you see how marriage becomes a means to complete your deen. It becomes a path to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala among other paths. And that's important also to note, because sometimes people make marriage the ultimate end, and what that does is, now if for some reason you're unable to get married, or for some reason you're divorced, or you're no longer married, there's this idea that I haven't really completed my purpose yet, and that really needs to change. We need to understand that marriage is a way to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Marriage isn't my end in and of itself. I wasn't born in order to get married. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created me to worship Him, to serve Him, and He gave me ways to do that. And one of the ways to do that is through marriage. Just like one of the ways to do that is through praying. Just like one of the ways to do that is through fasting. One of the ways is through marriage. So marriage is supposed to be work. It's supposed to be a path itself. It's not somewhere you arrived and now you're in Jannah, and now it's just kind of the story ends there. That's what happens in the fairy tale. The story ends at marriage. The story ends at the wedding, and you don't really see what happens after that. But the reality is that the story actually begins at marriage. That's where the path, a new path begins, and a new struggle. It is a struggle. It is work. It is ibadah. If done in the right way, it is ibadah. It is worship. Everything that we do can be an act of worship if it is done for Allah's sake. And marriage is one of those things. We have to view it in that way. We don't get married in order for someone to now serve us. That's one of the problems too, is this idea the reason when you ask a person, why are you getting married? And most of the time, the idea is, I'm getting married because I want this person to make me happy. And that becomes the goal. The goal becomes, I'm marrying you because I need you to serve me. I need you to serve me happiness. I need you to fill this emptiness that I have inside of me. I have a hole and I need you to fill it. And that's a very, very dangerous way to go into anything, let alone a relationship that's supposed to last, inshallah, till the hereafter. It's a very dangerous way to go into it because for a number of reasons. One, that is not the purpose of marriage. It's not the ultimate purpose of marriage. The ultimate purpose of marriage is not that this person is going to serve you happiness. This person is going to make you happy. The ultimate purpose of marriage is also not to be filled. My emptiness, this hole inside of me cannot be filled by any other person. This hole inside me, this emptiness, cannot be filled by my spouse. And the reason it cannot be filled by my spouse is it was a hole that was created by God, for God, and it can only be filled by Him. It cannot be filled by my spouse. It cannot be filled by my money. It cannot be filled by my career. It cannot be filled by my job. And it cannot be filled by my status. The only thing that can fill me is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I go to the creation with an emptiness and I expect the creation to fill me, I will always come back more empty. This is just a rule. And so one of the problems, I think, just at the root level in our relationships, marriage as well as within our families and our friends, is that we're going to these people in our lives to fill our emptiness. We go to them because I'm empty and I need you to fill me. I'm sad and I need you to make me happy. And when we do that, we come back even more empty. And inshallah, we will continue this discussion. We will continue the member drive. And inshallah, we ask you to support after this short break. We will continue to also take calls.
غرباء 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 ولغير الله لا نحمل الجبال.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Yasmin Mogahed, and you're listening to Serenity, streaming live on One Legacy Radio. Alhamdulillah, we have a lot of people joining on the chat box. Someone says, I just became a member. I may not listen all the time, but what you said about Sadaqah Jariyah makes sense. I hope I can help keep this radio online and that we all benefit from it, inshallah. Barakallah fiki. May Allah bless you, Iman. This is exactly the response that we need. We need people who are looking to help others, who are looking to benefit others and to benefit themselves, inshallah, in their graves. This is a charity that, inshallah, will continue to benefit people. We need to keep One Legacy Radio online. We need to continue and grow this effort. So we ask you to please become a member. Please do support this effort and ask your friends and family to support it. This is one of a kind. This is not, this isn't something that you find all over, that there is a radio station for Muslims, for the Muslim voice, a newspaper for the Muslims, for the Muslim voice. This is something we need to support. Of all the things we need to support, this is really one of the most important because it really provides a platform for our iman, to grow our relationships, to grow our communities. This is extremely crucial. We need to support this. We need to ask others to support this. You can become a member. The button is right on the top above the player. Become a member, and when you do become a member, in fact, you are also supporting other very, very beautiful causes. When you become a member, when you pay $10 a month membership, One Legacy Radio and InFocus News will actually plant a tree on your behalf. So the sadaqah is even beyond the support for the radio station itself. Those who have the $25 a month membership, You'll have a tree planted in your behalf, and you'll also be receiving a T-shirt, and $50 a month you'll have a tree planted in your behalf. There's a tote bag and a T-shirt, and $100 a month you'll have the tree planted on your behalf, the tote bag, serve water, and we will also feed a family on your behalf. So there is, you're giving back not only to the radio station but also to those in need, inshallah, through your support. Someone says, I listen to One Legacy. I listen to One Legacy from work. Alhamdulillah for having this show. The best thing about this program is listeners can ask questions or email. As a female, since I can't reach imams in masajids, it was hard for me to get answers for my questions. Alhamdulillah, and that's exactly what we want to do, is provide that platform. We do have an open email for you to ask your questions. We have been taking your questions and addressing your issues on the air. The email is serenity@onelegacyradio.com. That's serenity@onelegacyradio.com. And so this is where you can write your questions to the email. You can write your questions in the chat box, and you can also call in. So someone has asked. Someone has said, I'm not married, so I could be totally wrong, but it seems to me that there's a trend of taking marriages more lightly, considering divorce easily compared to a last resort. I've seen this person is saying, so I've seen that as compared to the, just get through it, kind of attitude that we used to have. So, I think this is a good point. And, I think there's definitely these sort of different extremes. And one of the things that the listener is pointing out is there may be, that attitude nowadays that it's kind of an easier route, and maybe it's too easy, of not necessarily sticking in the marriage. But I think that on the other hand, there's also the other extreme, which we may have seen in our parents' generation, and that's stick through no matter what. And when I say stick through no matter what, unfortunately, what that tended to mean is if something is bad, we don't even try to fix it, but we just kind of just accept it and sort of sort of pretend like it isn't there, or just look away, and that isn't the solution either. And I think we have to find that balance in between. And I think it's the correct Islamic balance that we are committed, but we are also committed to making things right and making things good, and not just accepting something as broken and just say it's broken and it is what it is. But there's not enough, I think, resources, as well as, there's not enough resources, for those who are struggling with marital problems and family problems. But there's also this taboo, this issue. It's kind of considered very taboo to even seek that help, and that in and of itself needs to change, because it's so important that it's not just about keeping the family together, but it's about how are they together. If you're together and it's an unhealthy, abusive situation, you're not doing anyone any favors, and in fact, that is hurting the children, and perhaps even hurting them more than if that family was not together. So being in a bad situation doesn't necessarily mean it's better. So what we have to be doing is continue to be committed to the family and to the marriage, but at the same time not be passive about trying to make things better, and trying to if there is a problem, that we try to take the steps to fix it. And I think that that's really where we need to find the balance. So someone says, Assalamu alaikum. I used to have severe depression when I used to cry for no reason, and at times wanted to just drive my car off a cliff with my kids in it. But one day I turned to OLR by my husband's advice and listened to Serenity. Wow. Listen to Serenity. Instantly the music on the background was soothing. The voice, this got cut off. Yeah. That's intense. So, subhanAllah, I'm hoping that there was a happy ending to this. Inshallah, I will get the rest of the message here somewhere. But subhanAllah, serenity. The point here is actually that, and these are issues. We're dealing with these issues. Sometimes there's a great deal of frustration, and we don't have a place to go. There is depression, people dealing with these issues, and we want to make a space. Not only do we make a space to discuss it, but make a space where people understand that they're not alone. Sometimes you feel very isolated in your depression, or very isolated in your frustration and your pain. And when you realize that other people are going through what you're going through and that there is a way out, it really gives people a lot of hope. One person says, my husband has put his family's needs before me, has taken me for granted, and really hasn't understood the true meaning of a wife. We had a huge fight that was the needle that killed the camel's back. So he tried to get me back with everything in his might. My father was very harsh on him. I think that this brings up an important point. And that is, the involvement of the in-laws, and it really is a topic in and of itself. It really needs, it's a huge topic, and it needs to be discussed. But just sort of to touch upon that topic, one problem I have seen across the board, one of the most common causes of rift within the marriage, is this issue of maybe not being just between the wife or / husband and the in-laws or the family. And this is something that is extremely important. To be unjust between, for example, sometimes what I've seen a lot is that the wife might feel that she's sort of a second priority, a third or fourth priority to the husband's family, the mother, the siblings, etc. And this really tears families apart. This tears marriages apart. If there's any, I think, really advice to give to someone when they are getting married, is just be very, very mindful of this concept of justice, this concept of balance. Be very careful to give everyone their right. And it's important to understand that just like the mother has rights, the wife also has rights. And the wise person will never choose one over the other, but always give each person their right and make them feel that they are indeed a priority, and there aren't these other when you get married, the idea is that it's one unit. The two of you are kind of become part of that partnership, and then it's now that partnership or that unit kind of then against the world. And when I say against the world, that doesn't mean that you're going to be opposing others, but there needs to be that sense of unity within the marriage itself. Oftentimes, what I see is that there isn't that cohesion within the marriage itself, and instead it becomes perhaps the husband and his family kind of against the wife, and the wife is sort of separate, and that's not the way that's not how it should be. That's not how it's designed. That the marital structure is supposed to be the husband and the wife together as a unit, and then they move together. They support each other. You don't, cut down one, in front of others. You don't, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you are garments for each other, this is a covering and a protection. We have to have each other's back, and if there's a fault in one or the other, you don't expose that. You don't take someone else's you don't take someone else's side against your spouse. These are things that you have to be very, very mindful of. And never make it, never make the person feel that again that they're very low on the list of priorities. At the same time, you should continue to give obviously your family their rights. No one should ever take away the rights of one's family, but it's very important that we become educated in the rights of the wife and of the husband, so that we don't get in a situation where we are sort of depriving someone of the rights, because Islamically that's very serious. Oppression in any sense is very serious. So we have to be careful that we know what is the right of my wife, and am I really fulfilling that right? Okay, so a lot of questions regarding this issue. my fiance wants to leave our relationship because he found out that I talked about our relationship with my friends and I had said stuff about him while I was angry, and now he wants to leave the engagement because he doesn't trust me. I have been asking him to forgive me every day, but he won't let it. Well, this brings up an important point, and it has to do with, again, the issue of garments, that, you know, you're garments for each other and you're supposed to be covering up each other's faults. It is important when we this is something that that one is going to have to deal with throughout the marriage. Problems are going to arise, and the question is, how am I going to deal with it? And it's something you're going to have to think about and really reflect about and talk between the two of you. How are we going to deal with conflict? It's not useful to just assume that there will be no conflict and just be passive about it. There will be conflict, and the question is, how are we going to then approach it, and how are we going to deal with it? And one of the sort of knee-jerk reactions, unfortunately, sometimes is just you find your friend, you find the nearest person to you, and you just unload, right? You just say everything to them, and you just talk, and this can be very problematic for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is the person you're talking to may be, maybe a good friend, maybe someone that you talk to a lot through, maybe a very close friend. But oftentimes what happens is the person you're talking to isn't going to help you out for real, really help you out. And I'll tell you why. Most of the time, if we call up a girlfriend or if a man calls up his friend or a family member and you say, my husband or my wife did XYZ to me, most probably they're not going to give you a sort of unbiased, balanced answer and give you a solution. But instead, they're going to take your side, and they're going to be like, oh, like, how could they do that, man? That's really messed up. And what is that going to do for you now? It's only going to make you more angry, and it's only going to potentially make the matters worse. When someone is just sort of just egging you on in a sense, and it's just it's putting more fuel to the fire, and it's not actually helping you to resolve the issue. So it's very important that we are careful with whom we seek advice, from whom we seek advice, with whom we speak about these issues to. It's important too that we're not just unloading, because that can just be backbiting. And there is a line again, and we have to find the balance. Sometimes people go to the other extreme and say, well, I can never seek help because that would be backbiting. Well, that's not true either. We can talk about a problem, but we have to be careful why we're talking about it and to whom we're talking about it. If we're going to talk about a problem to a counselor or to someone who's trained in order to help, or someone that you really trust will be able to give you, you're going to them actually to get very solid, sincere advice, not just someone who's going to egg you on like you did when you were in grade school, when someone hurts you and you go to your friend and they're like, oh man, like I'll beat him up, right? Like that's not what you really need. That's going to be beneficial at this point. And if that's all you're getting, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You're just hurting yourself in your relationships, and it can get in the realm of backbiting. It's something that would definitely hurt the other person, but it also hurts your relationship and ultimately ends up hurting you. So being very careful how you approach the problem and how you respond, who you go to for advice is extremely important. And what are your intentions? And if you find the right person and you're going with the right intention, inshallah, that person won't be just telling you, oh, you're right and that person's wrong, because that's not useful. It's not going to help you solve anything. The one who really is going to help you is the one who's going to tell you what you can change and what you need to change, because you become powerless when you say, the problem is that the other person, there's nothing that I need to change, and unless that person changes, nothing will change. Well, now you've actually given all the power to that person, and you have no more power to even change the situation or adjust the situation anyway. So it's extremely important that we look at these conflicts from the lens of, what should I change? What can I do? Of course, The given here is where I'm not talking about abusive situations. I really need that to be emphasized. We should never ever be passive about abusive situations. We should never internalize the blame for abusive situations. What we're talking about here is just regular conflict that comes up in any relationship, not abusive situations. In an abusive situation, the last thing you need to do is internalize the blame. The blame is not, it's not your fault that this person has an anger problem. It's not your fault that this person is abusing you, and that's a whole different situation that needs to be addressed properly. But we're talking now about the regular type of conflict, and where you go for advice is extremely important. We will take another short break now, and when we return, inshallah, we will be able to take your calls in a few minutes, and the number again is 714-988-8182.
غرباء 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 ولغير الله لا نحمل الجبال.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Yasmin Mogahed, and you're listening to Serenity, streaming live on One Legacy Radio. We are, mashallah, a lot of participation today. We are asking for you to show your support. We are talking today about the question, the title of today's topic is "My Marriage is Falling Apart, What Do I Do?" And in order to continue to have shows like this, in order to continue to have this platform where people can come and ask their questions and share their grievances and inshallah get support, which sometimes is lacking. Sometimes people don't feel that they have a place that they can go. But in order to continue to do this and to provide this service, we need your support. We are a nonprofit organization, and we are driven completely by donations, and we're asking for your membership. If you can please share this appeal with your friends and family. Become a member by clicking at the top button above the player. Your membership is what drives this radio station, what drives this effort, and it's something that's so absolutely needed. As you can see, these types of platforms are just unfortunately lacking in our communities. We need to support, we need to grow these things, we need to really strengthen these efforts. So inshallah, please do support and realize that your support for this effort, inshallah, for you will be a sadaqah jariyah. It will be a charity that continues to benefit other people and therefore continue to benefit you even in your own grave, even after you've passed away. This is one of those things, inshallah ta'ala, that falls in the category of those efforts that continue, those deeds that continue to benefit a person even after they pass away. And realize that once we die, once we leave this earth, nothing is going to continue to benefit us. We can't continue to do good deeds except those who planted these seeds in this life. One of those seeds is a charity that continues to benefit others. Let this be your charity, that you support this type of effort, and it can continue to help those in need, to help strengthen the iman of our ummah. This is what we want to do. We want to provide services to support those who are suffering, the people who don't know where else to go. Inshallah, we want to make a place for them to come. And you'll see once you join the chat box and the discussion, it just becomes like an international family. We have people from all over the world. And one person presents a problem, you have like 5 people presenting some solutions. It really is. It's a place for people to come together, and we hope that we can support and continue to have this effort. We are speaking today about this question of marriage, and we are able now to take your calls. Please do call in. Show your support for the radio station. Let us know how has this service helped you? What has it done for you in your life personally? Serenity or any of our shows on One Legacy. The number again is 714-988-8182. That's 714-988-8182. 8182. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear from you about what is your experience with One Legacy and any suggestions you have for the future of One Legacy. So we have a number of questions. One person says, I have let one rejection take over me. His mother won't let him marry someone who is not an Arab. Please speak on this issue. Jazakallahu khairan. So you have this issue quite commonly, the issue of nationality and it becoming a barrier. A lot of us, our parents came from overseas to other countries, United States and other countries, and so we meet. There's an international sort of pot of Muslims here where we're living, but our families sometimes want us to marry within our ethnic group or within our nationality. This is a real issue, and what I would say is we have to see this issue from a different lens. Sometimes we are not able to get things that we want, and what we have to be able to do ultimately, at the end of the day, is step back and really look at the situation and realize that ultimately I might really, really want something very badly. I might love something very much, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, and it may not be good for me. Allah reminds us in the Quran that it may be that you hate something and it is good for you, and it may be that you love something and it is bad for you. Allah knows and you do not know. This ayah, it should give us comfort to realize that those things which I've tried everything in my power to get, but it just didn't work out, that is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it may be that that thing was not good for me. I have to be willing to let go of things, realizing this. It is sometimes very difficult, but the problem that we face is that we hold on to the wrong things at times. It's okay to want to marry someone. It's okay to be, to have a preference, obviously. But our problem is we hold so tight to certain things and we become so attached and so dependent on a certain outcome. And instead of holding on to Allah, instead of holding on to what is khair, we hold on to, this particular type of outcome and this particular person in this case. And what we don't realize is we may be hurting our own selves. And maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has something else better for us. It hurts to not get what we want. But if we realize that sometimes Allah withholds in order to give, that Allah may not give us what we want, but it's because He's giving us something better. And this takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of faith to really be able to see that. You might be able to write the story in a different way, but Allah's the best writer, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who wrote it in the best way for us. And we should be able to see that. And letting go is really key. Stepping back and really just, what is my ultimate purpose anyways? My ultimate purpose is not to marry person X. My ultimate purpose isn't even to get married at all. My ultimate purpose is to reach Allah. And if there's a different path that Allah knows best to reach Him, then that's the path, that I want. Whatever path, this is what we have to reset. What is our goal? We have to reset what is our ultimate destination. And whatever path is going to take us there in the best and quickest way, that's the path we want. And Allah sometimes, Allah knows that there's a particular path that isn't good for us. Maybe that path is going to take us away from our destination. Maybe there's another path that's better for us. That's what we want. So we need to step back and refocus, widen the lens. We get so narrow in our lens. We get so narrow and I want this and I see nothing outside of it. We need to step back and widen the lens and see the bigger picture, really. That bigger picture is, I have a place that I'm trying to go, and if this car isn't going to take me, I'll take a different car, right? If one vehicle, breaks down, that's okay, because that vehicle is not my destination. It's just a car. And if one marriage didn't work out, if one person didn't work out, then maybe there's something else. Maybe there's something better. Allah knows best what is the best path to Him. This is extremely important to understand, and it's part of our of tasting the sweetness of Iman. There's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says that no one will taste the sweetness of Iman. You will not taste the sweetness of Iman until you realize that whatever has passed you by was never meant to befall you, and whatever has befallen you was never meant to pass you by. It's so crucial that we understand this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, and we ask Allah for what is khair. And this is exactly the idea of istikhara. We're asking Allah to give us what is best and to take away whatever is not good for us. Okay, so we have so many, subhanAllah, questions. I still encourage you to call in. You don't have to necessarily ask your personal questions online, but we do want to hear your voice. We want to hear, what One Legacy Radio means to you, what Serenity means to you. The number again is 714-988-8182. So the next question says, I have given in to the maximum of my abilities and capacity, and when it comes to taking a decision, he just left me behind and prefers to stay with his sisters and mother. Being his wife, it is becoming harder by the day to keep making excuses for his behavior. The first thing that I would say, sister, is seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We get in these situations that seem very impossible, and we don't see a way out. There's certain things that we can do, right? There are certain things that are in our hands to do, certain efforts that we can make. There's means that Allah gives us to use, and we need to exhaust those means. We try everything we can with those means and with our efforts. But there's something extremely important, even more important than those means, and that is, are we seeking the help of Allah? Are we asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make a way out for us? Are we asking Allah to solve our problem? We are told to take the effort, to make the effort to try to solve our problem, towards solving our problem. But we need to realize that I and you do not solve our problems. Myself, I am not able to really, I myself don't cause anything to happen. I do my effort, I try hard, but ultimately every single result is from Allah. Allah is the one who makes anything happen. I need to remember that, and I need to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask Him to make a way out for me, ask Him to make a solution for me. There is always a way out of every single situation. The problem is we don't seek the right place for that solution. Allah has told us that if we have fear, if we fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we have taqwa, true consciousness of Him, if we make Him our ultimate focus, He always makes a way out for us. And so I say that, to you, sister, and to all those people who are in those situations where they can't see any way out, they don't know how to solve this problem, continue to try. But at the beginning and in the middle and at the end, seek the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the one who's going to make a way out for you. Allah will make a solution for you and will guide you to where you need to be, and will guide your spouse to where they need to be. But you just need to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and realize this: the solution, or rather the result, is not always in the form that we might want or that we might think it will be. But we ask Allah for what is best. We ask Allah to put us where is best. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take care of our heaviness, and we take our burdens and we put it on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because for Allah there's no such thing as a burden. Allah wants us to go to Him with our problem. But what we do oftentimes is we forget that, and we try to carry our problems on our own, and we focus only on our own efforts and our own means, and we forget that Allah is the one who makes a way out of every situation if we seek Him, and realize that way out and that solution and that result is not always in the form that we might imagine it to be, or that we might hope it to be. So someone asks, I'm going to get married inshallah next year, but I'm very, very afraid to live with my mother-in-law. Can you please advise me? I think this is a conversation you really, really need to have with your future husband. I think you need to be very open about your concerns with your future husband, and you need to both be on the same page. It's very important that you're on the same page about expectations, about your feelings, how you feel, how are things going to look like. You really need to have a candid discussion about this before you get into the situation, before you get married. These are definite. They prove to be deal breakers sometimes in the future if there is not an understanding of how that interaction should be, of how that dynamic will be. So it's very crucial that you discuss this beforehand. Don't just expect everything is going to work out, and without discussing it. Please do talk about your concerns and come to an understanding. And actually, this is the time to see, is there an understanding? Because there may not be an understanding. And so it's very important that you you see whether or not there is an understanding. Sometimes people find out too late that there is no understanding in terms of what is expected in that living situation. So something you really should discuss ahead of time. I'm going to take a very short break right now. We will continue we will extend the show a little bit. We'll take more questions, and I ask you again to please become a member, share with your friends and family. This is a cause that needs your support and is extremely important.
غرباء 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 ولغير الله لا نحمل الجبال.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Yasmin Mogahed, and you're listening to Serenity, streaming live on One Legacy Radio. We are speaking today about a very important topic, and it's the topic of marriage. What happens when it's not working out? What are some of the solutions to that issue? And we, alhamdulillah, we are, today we're joined by many people who are sharing their stories and sharing their questions. And this is exactly what we want to continue to do here at One Legacy Radio. Serenity is a show that we've had daily, and this is the platform that we want to provide, a place for people to come to share their struggles and to also share their triumphs. And, I'm going to, inshallah, actually share with you at the end of the show a very, very inspiring story of that exact thing, of a struggle and then a triumph. But before that, I want to really ask you to please do support the radio station by becoming a member. Ask your friends and family to become a member. This is something that we cannot continue to do for you. We cannot continue to do without your support. It is completely non-profit. Any donations you do give are tax deductible. But we also need, we really, really need that support from you to continue to have this service for you, and inshallah, and for it to expand. We need this voice of Muslim media. One question that was asked in the chat box, and I want to address this specifically because I think it's extremely important, and it's something that is quite common. And this person says that these two are related. So the birth of my son has left me with what I believe is postpartum depression. He's 16 months now, and it may be too late in most places to diagnose me with a condition. However, I recognize that my symptoms began in the days after my son's birth. And, this is, I feel that this is affecting my marriage. My husband and I don't get to spend much time together, and I miss spending time with him and talking with him. I miss him. I love motherhood, but I also want a marriage. I'm so grateful to this person for sharing this. This is something that needs to be talked about. It's something a lot of people silently suffer from. And this, there's a lot of issues here. The issue of what happens after, you become a mother. First, it's just you and your husband, and then there's a child, and what happens once you become parents. And that's also the issue of depression, and what, how do you deal with that, and how do you deal with the balance between being a mother and a father and being a husband and a wife. I mean, I can say from experience, this is a very, very hard balance to find. And one of the things that ends up happening a lot of times for mothers is that once you have a child, everything in your life kind of pauses or sometimes just completely stops. And everything now is centered around your child. And while that is, this is a noble sort of thing that mothers do, but I think that it isn't completely balanced. I think it's extremely important that as mothers, we understand our role as mothers, and it is central in terms of our path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in terms of our identity. However, it does not define us in this complete sense that we no longer do anything else or no longer have any other type of identity. First and foremost, we need to regain the identity as a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I know it sounds strange because, your motherhood, you as a mother is in a part of your worship, right? But unfortunately that gets lost. And what happens instead is we start to actually revolve our life and our existence around the child. And we actually, even though it is such a noble job, we do lose focus, and we forget that why it is that we're doing this. We forget our ultimate focus. And there's a lot of symptoms of this problem. One of the symptoms is that it becomes all you can think about, all you worry about, all it's like it defines everything that you think, worry, talk about. And it's important that we understand that, for example, when we're praying, when I'm praying, I shouldn't be just thinking about what is my child, going to do in an hour. Where do I need to take my child, and what did he do in the morning? What is he eating for lunch? And what are we cooking for tonight? When my mind is just consumed with those things, it's an indication that inside of me, I have lost focus a bit, and I need to come back and realize what is my ultimate focus and reconnect with my ultimate focus. And by reconnecting with my ultimate focus, you will find something amazing will happen. Those roles that you play as wife and as mother, as husband and as father will start to fall into place. They will start to become easier. They will start to be, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put blessing in those because we have refocused. When the heart is looking at Allah takes care of your matters. When the heart is facing the hereafter instead of just this life, Allah takes care of this life for you. And it's really an amazing dynamic when we reorient, we come back to that time alone with Allah. See, this is the problem. We become so engrossed in our responsibilities at times. We obviously there's so much responsibility in having a newborn and having children, this is a huge, huge job. And so what ends up happening is it defines our entire day, it defines our entire identity, and therefore it starts to define everything, our self-worth, our who we are, what we do, and as a result we move away from the the actual identity as a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We lose that time alone with Allah. We cannot compromise that time. We need to continue, one of the solution is actually very simple, but very dramatic. When you make time to just be alone with Allah, just to sit and reflect, just to sit and make dua, just to sit and read Quran, just to listen to a lecture, to really just say, this is my time with Allah. This is my time for my deen. This is my time for my relationship with Allah. It absolutely revolutionizes, it completely transforms the rest of your time, the rest of your day, the rest of your responsibilities and your roles. You'll find that they are easier, they are lighter, and there's more blessing in them. You will be able to be a better mother when you have that time. You will be able to be a better wife when you have that time. You'll be able to be a better husband and a better father as well. It really comes back to what is happening with my relationship with Allah. And that relationship, really, there's just one single relationship that defines and dictates every other relationship. It's amazing. And if there's any take-home message that I hope to, that we can take from this show and for the rest of our lives, it's this: that when you rectify your relationship with the Creator, He rectifies your relationship with the creation. It really is a very simple formula. When you rectify your relationship with the Creator, He rectifies your relationship with all of the creation. Everything becomes, falls into place. Everything becomes rectified once you rectify your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our problem is we have neglected our relationship with Allah. And sometimes it's for a good cause, right? We're busy. We're busy being mothers. We're busy being wives. We're busy being working to support our family. And as a result, we have moved away from our ultimate purpose and the number one reason, the reason why we were created, in fact, the reason, meaning there's only one purpose. And we've moved away from that. And as a result of moving away from that, everything else falls apart. Everything else becomes scattered. We can't really do it. And finding the balance becomes very difficult. And this, it sort of, it brings me to the next point, and that's balance. Sometimes, I think again, when when our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not where it should be, then we start to become unbalanced. And become unbalanced in everything. We become unbalanced in terms of our human relationships. One very common example is when a woman becomes a mother. Because she gives everything to her child, she unintentionally may take away the rights of others around her, for example, her husband. Once you become a mother, it becomes very difficult to then make sure that everyone else is still getting their rights, but that is absolutely necessary. One of the common problems I think a lot of people face is that once they have children, the time that the husband and wife have together starts to, that becomes a last priority, right? And I don't think that that's correct. It should not become a last priority. It's that relationship that you have with your spouse is what is going to be the foundation for your relationship with your children. You need to make time for it, even if it means getting help with childcare, making time just for you and your spouse, making sure that you're not always too tired for your spouse because you've given everything to your child and you have nothing left for your spouse. That is not fair. It is not fair and it's not just. You have to be able to balance. You have to do that because this is a type of injustice and and anytime something is unjust, you suffer. Everybody suffers, including your children. That's what we have to know. We are not helping our children by losing the balance. We are not helping our children by taking away anyone else's rights for the sake of our children. That will never end in a good result. We have to have that balance and be able to give each person their right. Your child has a right over you. Your husband and your wife has a right over you. Your own body has a right over you. This is a lesson. This is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Even, I'll bring it to this example. Sometimes we think that, but I'm doing this noble job of being a mother, and therefore, that makes it okay to now not have enough time for my husband, or to not have enough time maybe to take care of myself, or whatever it is. I don't have enough time, or to not have enough time alone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you look at it, there's an example, a story in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, which addressed this issue in a different way, and that is that there was a woman who came, and she was not taking care of herself, and when she was asked, she said that it's because her husband is not interested in the dunya, right? He's not interested in anything that has to do with the dunya, meaning that he was not really giving her time, because he was so engrossed in ibadah. He was so engrossed in prayer and worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what ended up happening is that the Prophet ﷺ agreed to the statement that your body has a right over you, your spouse has a right over you, that these are things that you have to give each thing its right, and your Lord has a right over you. So when you for example, even in this situation, it was not proper for this person to neglect the rights of the wife even though he was praying, right? He was doing ibadah. So how much more is it then the case if you're taking care of your child? Yes, this is a noble endeavor. But what could be more noble than praying? And yet even prayer was not an excuse to take away the right of the spouse, right? To take away the right of that time and that attention to the spouse. We cannot make it an excuse to take away that right. And I'm talking about time, I'm talking about attention, I'm also talking about physical rights, that can't be that I've given all of my energy, I've given all of my time to this child, and as a result I don't have any energy left for my spouse. It's extremely important that doesn't happen. It is an injustice. It's taking away a right that belongs to the spouse, and it's tipping a balance that needs, in a direction that shouldn't be the case. Everyone should have the right, and you need to set those standards and those limits. There has to be boundaries. The child cannot take over the personal space of the couple. The child cannot take over all the time of because that becomes very detrimental to the relationship. And if the relationship is weakened, the entire family is weakened. So it's important that everybody has their, in terms of, for example, a sleeping space. Sometimes there's too much, there's not enough sort of privacy, that once the child comes into the picture, any privacy between the husband and wife goes out the window. That's wrong. That's wrong on every level. It's wrong Islamically. It's wrong. Any relationship expert can tell you that will not work. There has to be a private space for the couple. The child not everything can be public space. The child has to have their space, and the couple has to have their space. That doesn't mean, again, that you're just, very harsh, but you have to be principled. You have to be principled, and everything has to have its place, and everything has to have its balance, inshallah. So this is, again, something we have to keep in mind in terms of everyone getting their rights, not becoming unbalanced. And this lack of balance, again, comes back, I think, to a loss of focus. When my focus becomes my child instead of my relationship with Allah, that's when I lose balance, subhanAllah. When I come back and I realize at the end of the day, why am I here? Why am I a mother? Why am I a wife? Why am I a speaker? Why am I a writer? Why am I doing these things? You have to refocus and ask yourself, why is it? And if you realize that this is part of your journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then all of a sudden things can be balanced, because I'm not just focused on one thing, I'm focused on the ultimate purpose, and all of these other things are paths. I'm going to take each one as a path, but you cannot neglect one in exchange for the other, because that's not going to be pleasing, and that's not going to be successful. It's not going to take you to your ultimate purpose in the right way. Inshallah, what I'm going to do now is just share with you a very moving message that we received from one of our listeners. The person says, Assalamu alaikum, and we got the rest of the message. I used to have severe depression, where I used to cry for no reason, and at times wanted to just drive my car off of a cliff with my kids in it. But one day I turned to OLR by my husband's advice and listened to Serenity. Instantly, the music in the background was soothing. The voice of the lady giving the talk was soothing, and most importantly, the topic that was being covered was about anxiety and depression, which is what attracted me even more. It felt like help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came in a form in which I never expected. I cried listening to the talk and felt that everything was relating to me, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it there just for me to listen to, learn, and apply. SubhanAllah, I was extremely moved by this, and this is exactly why it is so important that we continue to have this effort. I ask you to please support this effort and to please make dua for your brothers and sisters all over the world who are suffering. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make these last days of Ramadan beneficial, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts from you and from me our fasts and our prayers. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم إنه غفور رحيم. سبحانك الله وبحمدك، نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت، نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
غرباء 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 غرباء